Uh, to our next panelist, OTT, a new age marketing medium. So OTT provides new avenues for brands and marketers to reach out to their target audience with ads based on their online behavior of audiences, their browsing habits, lifestyle-based data, and much more. Thanks to the interactive and choice-based nature of OTT viewing, advertisers can access a treasure trove of insights about what audiences watch, when they watch, and the kind of time they spend on watching every day. With the help of this customer data and user profile, marketers can personalize and customize tailor-made, impactful, and targeted ads. User profiling allows brands to aim the target audience with most relevant advertisements using the most engaging content. OTT allows brands and marketers to make use of augmented reality ads, AI-based predictive personalization, 3D view, etc. However, there are challenges. Despite OTT's dynamic advertising capabilities, there is no standardization, uniformity, and transparency in OTT advertising. The industry needs measurement tools for this. To discuss all of this and more, I have with me an esteemed panel. The session will be chaired by Uday Sodhi, partner, Curate Digital, and he'll be joined by Ahmed Faraz, General Manager FNP Media, Ferns and Petals, Chaitanya Ramalingegowda, Co-founder and Director of Wakefit, Jayesh Ullattil, General Manager InMobi, Ramalingam Subramanian, Chief Marketing Officer, CoinDCX, Vikas Bagaria, Founder and CEO, PSafe. Over to you there. I'm looking for an interesting session.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you so much. And a big welcome to all the panelists. Wherever you are sitting, let's make this nice and interactive. And I'm going to quickly start off. We've got a very interesting group. We've got 3 brand advertisers. We've got a media company, and we've got 1 platform. So we're going to get a good mix of conversation. So I'm going to start off with the brand guys and people who are the real people sitting with lots of money. So tell us, what are your advertising goals for the year ahead? Where do you see yourself spending? Is OTT part of your overall advertising mix? How important is OTT, and what all are you doing? Let's start off with Ramalingam and then, move to Chaitanya and Vikas.
Thank you so much, Uday. Yes, OTT has been an interesting channel for us, and over the last couple of months, we have been going big there. There are interesting takes versus say versus other channels. We find there are benefits, but I still feel there is a lot to be explored, lots to be learned on this particular channel. It definitely gives us good control over the overall marketing activities that we can perform. And as we scale, we as a business at CoinDCX, we started OTT first because it was more experimental, understanding how we go about our large spends, and we got to measure and track it really well. There is still a lot more that can be done. We still need to come up with better campaigns at our side and also work with the partners to understand and create attributions much stronger. But overall, I feel as a starting point, I feel OTT is a good channel, and as a business, we have got good focus there.
Sorry, Ram, I'm going to push you a little. Is it a large part of your spend, or is it still experimental, and why?
No, so the experiment is not on. Okay, I'll just clarify myself. The experiment was not only on the channel per se; it was also an experiment at our end while we started doing certain big campaigns, and we chose OTT, right? I could experiment in any when I go into say large spends. I could have experimented in various different channels. It could be broadcast, print, but we chose that let's start with OTT, right? And we had properties available there, like we had IPL and other forms of cricket available, for which is a very good property from the market that we are targeting on. So those opportunities were available, and while weighing various channels, we felt that is good. In terms of spends, yes, still, like if I look at the overall broadcast spends or uh, uh, brand spends, if I want to call it, OTT still has a significant portion of the budget.
Great. Chaitanya, you want to pick up from there? Tell us what's your advertising focus for the year, and how does OTT fit into this?
Sure, Uday. So we at Wakefit, we're a home furnishing and furniture company. So that means these are products from couches to wardrobes to beds and mattresses. And given this, we are always on the lookout for reaching out people that we are not able to reach out well enough on the standard traditional means. So from a top of the funnel perspective, definitely OTT is one of the important channels that we look at. Because we are trying to reach audiences who may not be available as easily on, say, YouTube or on on some of these publisher networks, or going on some of these regional newspapers that we get inventory of. So can we reach them when they are much more immersed in watching something that is of interest? They have chosen this. They have chosen to watch this episode. They have chosen to listen to this particular episode while they're working. So can we do that? So from that perspective, we have been always looking out for it. But we've also seen certain constraints which don't enable us to spend as much as we would have liked to. We can come to it later in the session, but we wish we could have done a lot more. But in reaching out to people who may have very specific interests, we love OTT from that perspective.
Super. And we'll take this up in further questions as to where do you think you can spend more money, and how can you spend more money. Moving on to Vikas. Vikas, you're again another very focused, very niche D2C product company. Tell us more about where do you see OTT in your larger advertising goals or go-to-consumer goals.
So Uday, PSF is a new kid on the block. We're still learning how to go ATL, and to be honest with you, we are into 4 different genres: toilet hygiene, menstrual hygiene, and sexual wellness. We just started this year, which is Domina. I think OTTs in our future planning for advertisements fits well, because as you know that condoms and sexual wellness product or pleasure products are not being advertised on Facebook and Google. And so what we are looking OTT as collaboration in episodes, because we have massages as well. So a lot of products which goes into and sometimes even the words toilet seat sanitizers get rejected by the traditional digital media. So in our I think the 4th quarter of this fiscal, we are planning to go big way on OTT. We had a little bit of success on digital on YouTube when we did some kind of collaboration with TVH and other episodes, and we really got some good response. So as of now, I'm still learning, but yes, OTT is a platform for us to go starting from 4th quarter.
Good. I'm sure people are listening to you. Ahmed, you're right in the middle of being a D2C, a consumer brand, an e-commerce brand, and a media company. Tell us, where does this signal coming from advertisers, what does it mean for you?
So before I get into that, just a bit about us. So we are, right, as you said, we're in the middle of it. We are part of Ferns and Petals, which is one of the largest e-com gifting company, and it's been there since 1994. But F&P Media per se is only 2 years old, so to say. Founded 3 years old, founded in 2018. In 2019 is when we started making content. And we have also tried something different when it comes to our content. We've been into short films very largely. We've been into storytelling, poetry, kind of a short format content. We have 2 YouTube channels for it. And what we have seen from whatever clients we've approached and whatever clients we've got on board, we've seen that conventional advertisement is not what client is anymore looking for. So we pitch them some solutions which is based on the storytelling overall, because everybody is going towards the storytelling route. However, to increase traffic on my short films on my YouTube, I have taken help of OTT advertisement as well, myself as a brand, where we advertise our short films on Hotstar AVOD content, where because short films and short format content on Hotstar is available in AVOD model. And so what we did, we experimented with few of their properties, not the cricket one, but whatever content which aligned with our our target audience persona. We experimented and we saw a lot of OTT people are also coming to our YouTube short films as well. And we've seen a lot of traffic coming from their side. So yes, we are actually doing, so we are also somebody where we are getting clients for our target audience. We are also advertising on OTTs for our platform as well. So we are in the midst of it, where we are becoming a platform and experimenting on different types of advertising overall, to see which kind of audience is responding to what kind of a content. And obviously, similarly, we are approaching brands, for advertisement or storytelling, so to say. So we are not pitching them in film advertising, which is conventionally being done for the last few years. We are actually creating storytelling videos for them, which sometimes includes only poetry videos done in a different way. And so I've that kind of an advertisement is what I have seen in the last at least 3 years since I've been involved in performing arts of spoken word. I'm sure Vikas will agree, because I've seen a lot of P-Safe advertisement being done by poets across India, and in a very beautiful and very integrated way. So similar is what I have seen personally being done by brands. So that is the route which I think it's brands and brand managers and brand owners are taking right now. And it's going to get bigger and bigger from here on, because the consumption of content over mobile devices and over OTTs is only going to increase with 5G coming in, and all these telecom companies pushing more and more data consumption. So content demand will also increase, and so will the budget of advertisements by the brands.
Perfect. Thank you, Ahma. Jayesh, give us a larger picture. Give us, where is the industry moving towards? Where are advertising spends going? You have a 360 degrees view of the world. You have a high-level view of the world as probably one of the largest advertising platforms in the country. Give us a picture of where are ads, where are brands spending, and how is OTT becoming a large part of their marketing mix?
Right. Thanks, Uday. Thanks for that question. I represent InMobi, the capacity of the business head for India, and InMobi happens to be one of the largest non-walled garden platforms available in terms of both supply and demand. And it's heartening to see the kind of interest that has been getting generated on OTT. So I'll take a step back over the evolution of how digital videos. Here I'll specifically talk about video. I'm not talking about the audio or OTT per se. See, over the last 3-4 years, the adoption of video OTTs has really propagated. So what I would see as the numbers progression is it's huge. So likewise, the spends also have started increasing. So earlier, what used to be pure TV has now become video. And within that video, another 35% has got added into the digital video piece. And what used to be purely YouTube has now spread into YouTube plus OTT plus other platforms, right? So platforms like gaming becomes another piece. So the biggest advantage that somebody gets on the OTT platforms is, of course, brand safety as compared to multiple other platforms. OTT is curated content, most of them is curated content, and you know where you're going, you know the kind of programming which is there. So, and because of historically how it has evolved in India, unlike in many other countries, what you also see is the fact that OTT has become an extension of linear TV. It is not necessarily true in other countries. So you see the same content, in the earlier panel, people were talking about live news. Yes, OTT has live news, and OTT has all the television content that is there, and plus the originals also, which is coming in. Now, because of that reason, it is easier for advertisers to actually adopt to a OTT format. Otherwise, it would have been a big hurdle to cross. But that is because of the way it has evolved, that has become a less of a hurdle. And like Subramanian was talking about, the advantage of having a lot of these impact properties, be it a Big Boss or be it a IPL, that also creates an advantage for advertisers to go after OTT at a lower cost as compared to TV. Okay.
Is there enough supply out there, Jayesh? My question is, there are obviously advertisers sitting on one side, looking at video as a very large part of their marketing mix. Is OTT able to create enough of a supply for these advertisers? And is the supply, in enough cohorts available for advertisers to go up?
Absolutely. So, see, if you look at the numbers of some of the largest players in this category, what you will realize is we are not talking anymore 50 million, 100 million. We're talking hundreds of million. Be it a Hotstar, be it a Z5, be it a Voot, or be it any of those platforms are all upward of 100 million. And we just touched the tip of the iceberg. We have only talked about the top 5. You must understand there is another 40, 50 OTT platforms which many of us would not have been aware of. Right. And
absolutely, there's a long tail. There's
a long tail, and it is only going to get more and more. And my effort. So, one of the things that is also happening in the industry is the shift, the democratization of content is something which I love to talk about. So earlier, the content used to be very, very closely held, right?
Now there are creators also everywhere.
Sorry?
There are small creators also setting up their own thing.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not talking YouTube channels. I'm talking proper OTTs. While many of them have not started the ad monetization route, but that's a route everybody is going to take in India. And that is where we come in, right? So because of the fact that the reach that they will get versus what we will get as a consolidator would be much higher. So the two things that are happening in this category, in this particular ecosystem, is the fact that content is becoming more attuned to the user or the consumer. So you will find content in regional languages, vernacular languages coming up. You will find OTTs coming up in vernacular languages. So these 40, 50 of them that I'm talking about is spread across. Apart from the top 5, which maybe straddles across multiple languages, there are specialized languages, there are specialized genres of OTTs. I will not name some of them, but that definitely is there. And that is where the play is going to get more interesting, right? So the moment, say, a PSAFE wants to go, Vikas wants to go to specific areas, there is content available around that. There are specific OTTs around that. Whether they are monetizing or not monetizing, they are ready for that supply to be, monetized is something. It's a different question, but it will be at some point in time. On the other hand, you have somebody like Subramanian Ramalingam who wants to go after impact. He wants to go after digital native clients. You have OTT, because compared to television, there are 3 advantages you're bringing in on OTT. One, the fact that the investments are lower, you can go very specific, you can target, and the fact that it is digital. The conversion or the attribution is much easier over there, right? Then comes to a format like, or a brand like Wakefit, which is specifically around home care. You have multiple targeting options available. Like we provide a layering in terms of household targeting, which becomes an added advantage. What used to be a lot of spillage has narrowed down to less than 15-20% spillage now, or 30% spillage. So when you look at all these things put together, there is enough inventory out there. Inventory is not a question at all. Now, whether the right matrices for targeting, or rather the right instruments for targeting is available with the respective OTTs, or do you need somebody else to support? That is the question that needs to be answered. And that is probably where we come in.
Sounds good. Sounds good. That was a nice pitch for InMobi in any case. So let's move on from there. And I want to open this up for everybody. Maybe we can take it up one by one. But I think Jayesh has opened up a nice conversation here of telling us that there is enough supply out there and there are enough players out there. I just want to understand from the advertisers a little bit more as to where do they see or how do they see OTT working for them? Is it more a reach medium? Is it an impact medium? Is it something that you're looking for to get a response or a revenue sales? Is it something in your sales funnel? Or are you looking to target a niche audience specifically and say, OTT gives me access to a certain type of audience and therefore I'm going to go after that and use it in a tactical way. So I want to understand from all the three advertisers, maybe even Jayesh and Ahma can slip in after that to give us their view of how they're seeing advertisers do it. But maybe Ramalingam can start off by telling us, where do you see what's the purpose with which you're trying to get into OTT advertising? Is it impact, reach, response, niche audience targeting?
Right. So see, CoinDCX is in crypto space. Cryptos or investing in crypto is at a very nascent stage today. And for me, creating the right kind of awareness is very important. So traditionally, if I was launching something new, I would have gone for certain high impact, high visibility campaigns with a lot of spillovers, with a lot of wastages that would have happened. Right? What I am getting as a benefit, and I would actually like to also pull in YouTube a bit here as well. It's not specifically OTT, but I would like to pull in that. Is that I am able to target much better. I'm able to control my spends much better. As Jayesh also pointed out in his conversation, I'm able to control that, right? I'm able to create impact within a specific audience. Okay. And that's where I feel I'm able to communicate much better. I can go, so what's the concept of cost benefit, right? The cost benefit is I can now
tell me. Did you when you went for the cricket spends over the last few months, did you also do television or television was your main medium and digital was a backup medium, or was it giving you more coverage, or was it giving you more OTS? What's the objective? And I'm trying to get one layer under to see what's the strategy, because there are enough advertisers, agencies on this conversation, and they'd like to understand, what was going under the hood at that point in time.
Right. So that we went OTT first. Right? We did not go TV and then OTT. We went OTT first. And the reasoning is very simple, right? I am able to target a specific audience with high impact. And because the costs are in my favor, I'm able to produce larger stories. Right? I might be doing the same spends, but instead of a 10-second or 20-second slot, I might even explore a slightly larger slot with an OTT medium for the same kind of budgets, which gives me enough time to communicate well for a segment or for an industry which is hardly understood. Okay, so it becomes very important for me to communicate or give those stories in a very specific medium that will be most likely for me to convert as business, as well as create that kind of necessary impact. So I'm just saying that the mindset is slightly different. I'm not selecting OTT for impact or for specific targeting per se. Like if I want to do a large broadcast impact, obviously I might go to some of the larger mediums which has the largest reach, right? But in this place, I feel I have better control. So as a marketer, I am looking at that advantage of that particular control. And because we are a digital only business, right? It makes a lot of sense for easy conversion from OTT, which is also digital, and moving them directly to my app, and we get those kind of benefits on the platform. And many providers are building those new small tools on the live feed or on recorded content, where you can directly convert people. There is engagement that happens within that particular piece. So all these things are giving me better control, better visibility, and I feel that's one reason as a brand we are not moving away from OTT. Although now we are doing a lot more in other channels as well, like we did TV even recently. Yeah, but we started with OTT. I would still want to continue the spends there because I feel that I have better control and better visibility.
So I'm trying to interpret what you're saying. Does that mean that OTT has, because you can target and you have a large enough audience, you can create an impact to your niche audience in OTT, and therefore it gives you that much more control over your spend, and the control of spend also means you have less waste.
Correct. So the impact in a specific audience with a longer form of content is something that I am able to do with OTT. And that is that control that I get. So hence it's interesting for me.
Thank you. Chaitanya, you want to add to that? Where do you see OTT in your mix, and why do you use it? What's your strategic reason?
So I'll, unlike Ramalingam, I'll probably take out YouTube. I'll only focus on what traditionally is defined as OTT. I think for us, OTT is currently only about live sports and hit shows. Think of it as the early days of any e-commerce platform. The true adoption came when the long tail was as equally adopted by everybody in e-commerce as just the hit products. So earlier days in e-commerce was only the mobile phones, only the cheapest products. So that was where, and people started buying those. True adoption of e-commerce came when people started buying other smaller items also. You could have a long tail of 1,000 or 10,000 or 1 lakh pieces, which would each see 2-3 sales. And then it made sense for us to say, can we build a category in this? Is there a latent demand? And so on and so forth. Similarly, OTT is in that phase. Currently, it's only about live shows, live sports and very big hit shows. So when Scam 1992 happened, so one particular channel was very much in demand to advertise. When some Big Boss comes on one property, people want to advertise there. So it's not yet percolated where I can say, hey, even the other assets which are there, content pieces that are there, are going to give me access to somebody, and I can use those content pieces to advertise in a cheaper manner. So that adoption hasn't happened. So where Wakefit comes as a startup, we're a 6-year-old company, but we always have this mentality of measuring ROI on everything we do. So we are never going to say, let's spend 4 crores, 5 crores here and then see what happens. So given that mentality, what we look at is, we want to have a little more space so that we can have more narrative. Second thing is whether this ad can be interactive. There were a few experiments where we could get users to interact with it, not just see it passively, which is very different from television. The third one is specific targeting, and fourth one is measurement. So when we look at these 4, it makes a lot of sense for us to work with those OTT platforms. And also if the long tail becomes more and more consumed because of the quality itself going up, that will give us cheaper assets so that we can have a better mix of spends, not just focus on those 4 shows.
Makes sense. Thank you, Chaitanya. Vikas, over to you. Where do you see, or I know you're not advertising right now, but what you're hearing from others, what do you think would be your approach? What would you want your approach to be? I know you can target better on OTT, and that's what we're hearing from the other panelists. How would you approach it going forward?
Sorry. What Chaitanya has just mentioned, I think taking startup as whole, this is exactly what we will be doing if we start, advertising. Why we want to go on OTT? I think that's the only reason. The control, the less of, privileges, all this kind of stuff. But why PSAFE wants to go on OTT? That's very important because we talk about changing the behavior, the taboo topics, right? Still menstrual hygiene is only 37%. That's what government says. We said there's only 22% penetration in India. Sexual wellness and sexual pleasure, nobody's talking about it. But take example of Lust Stories in 2018. That 20-second scene sold 5 lakh vibrators in next 30 days, right? So you can imagine. So that's what PSEF want to target. We want to target specific shows where we can integrate our products. Like, for example, a toilet seat sanitizers. It reduces the risk of UTI. It's a perfect product whenever you have a travel shows, right? Menstrual cups. We are the highest seller of menstrual cups in India, which is a sustainable menstrual products. So we want to target people who are talking about, sustainability, who are talking about less of cost for menstrual hygiene products. So that's the best way a PSEF look OTT as. Along with that, we are not only a D2C brand. We very few people know that we are present in over 100 cities in over 20,000 stores across India. And that gives a confidence to people who see us online, and then they are on the offline bit. They see our products there on the shelf. That's confidence also, because we can't afford to go on TV right now. We want to go on a specific OTT channels, OTT shows, or content related programs. I think that will really help. So we are really confident of getting an OTT in a big way, but we want to try it out first and then take baby steps.
Yeah. Ahma, tell us more about, I think there is some conversation or something that we are hearing from everybody saying that it can be longer. The whole advantage of OTT seems to be being able to do something longer, something more interactive. You as a media company, how are you able to speak to advertisers? What is their feedback? Are they open to doing interesting formats, interesting things around, advertising? I know programming is different, but I'm saying pure advertising. Are they able to do different stuff on OTT?
Yeah, I think that's what has been the shift. Brands are opting for more interactive, more story-driven, more content-driven, different, more vernacular-driven advertisements. See, as Jayesh also rightly pointed out, that there are so many OTTs which people are absolutely unaware about. They are language-specific, they are dialect-specific OTTs available, which gives a very specific target audience for the brand to target. And as the spends are much lower than TV, the overall advertisement on that particular OTT can stay for longer. If you have, let's say, a certain budget, that budget might be consumed on TV on a lesser time, and OTT will take longer time to be consumed. So it can stay on that OTT for a longer time. So brand recall becomes a little more, it's a little higher than that. And overall interactive advertisements, storytelling, overall, how to engage their customers in a different way, not a conventional just seeing an advertisement on TV or on a screen and just be done with it, as is taking a backseat slowly, and brands are opting for something which is more interactive, where they can actually speak to their consumers. They can actually speak to their customers, and customers interact with them. And apart from that, as Vikas said, content-driven advertisement are also taken front seat, because it's not just about talking about the benefits of the product. It's also about the feel. It's about what the product stands for, what the brand stands for, and converting that into a overall content piece, which that kind of a audience is already consuming on different OTTs. So if, for example, PSAFE tomorrow comes up with some certain content which already been consumed in different OTTs, and put that content out as an ad on those OTTs, then obviously the brand recall for the products of PSAFE becomes higher. Right, so advertisers are definitely opting for interactive, different, innovative ways of advertising, and budgets slowly year on year are increasing, and in this kitty of innovative advertising than they were in conventional TV advertising. So that's increasing, and Chaitanya, as Chaitanya said, that YouTube is also something which is not out of the books for a lot of advertisers. It's still there as an OTT. It's still there because YouTube again gives a lot of reach as a or there are ways of targeting certain target audience persona on YouTube as well. The only difference is on OTTs, obviously you get to pick, you get to analyze, you have analytics at a deeper level when it comes to ROI of an advertisement. On YouTube, it's limited to certain things which Google offers. But again, as we see, if you see the overall kitty for advertisers, OTTs and YouTube obviously is something which people are spending on.
Thanks, Hemant. Jayesh, I wanted to come to you and ask you, when you're talking to advertisers, you're talking probably a very broad spectrum of advertisers in the country. What's the response that you get from advertisers? What are they wanting to spend money on? Is it very response driven, very CPA driven, or is it very impact driven? I want to get the best impact. I want to build brand salience. Where do you see most advertising coming? Where do you see more money coming in? Where are your advertisers spending more?
Yeah. So I'm assuming the question is how advertisers are looking at video advertising on our platform, and how.
Yeah, I mean, when your team is going out and speaking to advertisers, where do they come back? Where do they come back and say, no, I want only CPA kind of advertising, or response driven, or is it more brand driven?
So let's be clear. Advertisers have a lot of us. Like, we have 3 marketers on the platform. Somebody wants impact plus engagement. Say Ramalingam would be more looking at impact in a niche audience and then translation into actual performance. Chaitanya might be looking at a little more of awareness from some of these platforms, and Vikas is purely talking about awareness currently, if I'm not mistaken from what we said. So there's a short answer that I want to give and then explain it a bit. So if your question is whether OTTs work for impact, yes, of course it does. It has multiple impact properties you will find across the OTTs. If you are asking me whether it has the reach, yes, of course it has the reach. It might still not be the 30-odd million which is there with television, but it's definitely crossed 450 million. That's the reach of OTTs today, put together, all of them put together. And then the last question that you had, which was basically, is it engagement driven? Yes, that's the biggest advantage of having moved from linear to linear to digital, is the engagement that, I'm so sorry, the engagement that comes with it. There is one thing which I would like to point out, and since people, Chaitanya as well as I think Ramalingam also brought in the aspect of YouTube. So I talked about reach as well as impact. There's one thing which OTTs are currently lacking though, and that is frequency. Because you might be able to reach. So like, for example, if I were to talk about YouTube might have a MAU to the MAU to DAU ratio of somewhere close to 80%. OTTs might be lesser than 35-40%. So getting the communication back to the same guy again and again with one OTT becomes a challenge. And that is where you need somebody who can cut across the OTTs and give you that unique reach as well as the frequency that is required across that, right? So that's the short answer. Now, in terms of response or response or engagement, there are platforms or there are methodologies which you can use to have much higher performance. And that I'm sure Subramanian definitely is aware of that. He's probably already experimenting with that. But when you compare it to multiple other mediums, OTT definitely offers the required engagement opportunity. You can have an interactive ad, you can try out with rich media, you can have. So I'll take an example. I don't know how many of you have seen this last, not this IPL, not the 2 halves of this IPL, but the previous IPL, Hotstar had tied up with Swiggy, or Swiggy had tied up with Hotstar with a property called Swiggy Pop, which was in the vertical format, you're watching the broadcast, and then suddenly you wanted to snack. And the biggest, insight that drove it was cricket and food were going together. And the whole idea was to actually have a one swipe ordering in from Swiggy, from selected options nearby the person's location. So there was multiple things which were enabled in that, including geolocation, including connectivity, and of course the ease of engagement. So that kind of an opportunity will only be possible on a platform, either on OTT or something similar to that, right? And that is the biggest.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one question that's come up on the Q&A, which is probably related, and you can best answer this. In terms of OTT spends, how have they grown over the last couple of years? Where do you see this going over the next? There are reports that they're growing at 25-30% year on year. But are there numbers out there that you can share in some way?
Tough one. I don't have numbers with me in the sense which I can share, but I can tell you overall on the platforms. Definitely growing at a much higher pace than traditional TV. It is when you look at digital, you have display, you have video, you have search, and of course social. Social and video is the highest growing within digital itself. So it is growing at an upward pace of more than 25% is how I would put it. The spends on OTT is significant these days. So when I say spends on OTT, of course, I'm including YouTube also in that, and it is significant. It is not something which I would say is any more, like Chaitanya was saying, is the initial phase. No, it is not. It has definitely crossed the threshold. And from a content, so going back to Chaitanya's observation, I'm sorry, I'm disagreeing with you, Chaitanya. Only the fact that there is enough out there right now in the form of consumption beyond just the impact properties. There is enough consumption out there, and that so maybe I'll consume too much of time. I don't want to get into an example, but the growth is high. There is enough consumption happening, and there is the growth is likely to be high for the next few years as well.
Super. So I'm now going to open it up for Chaitanya. And Chaitanya, you had a quick answer. You had something that you wanted to talk about. What works, what doesn't work for OTT advertising? Tell us more about your experiences with measurability, delivery. Jayesh mentioned a point about saying, how do you get frequency of messaging to the same audience across platforms? Do you face a challenge in it, or that's not so much of a challenge? You're saying you want to focus on the same guy visiting the same platform, and each of these platforms now have significant ODS. So I'm just trying to see, there's a delivery angle, there's a measurability aspect, and there's a part of what's not working. Why would you spend more money? Why are you not allocating more money? You raised that point. I want to bring it back to you. Tell us more about what you're saying.
Sure. I think very valid question. I think I would look at it as targeting, attribution, and measurability. Those are the three angles from which I can probably answer this question. In targeting, as you all know, if it's live sports, the amount of targeting that you can do is restricted by the platforms because it's already live, and you don't get 2 level, 3 levels of targeting. They usually restrict it to 1 level targeting, and that's and it's not that they don't want to provide it. It's the limitation of the nature of the beast, so to speak. So that is one thing that keeps us sort of unhappy about. But on the other side, what I was mentioning and Jayesh sort of disagreed with was that yes, the growth is very, very rapid. The content supply is very, very good. But that discoverability and more people watching it, so that I can bucket it as an advertiser and say, I want to target anybody watching these 10,000 types of 10,000 shows that fall into this one bucket, because I will be able to reach that one kind of person. That is sort of compromised currently, because the long tail supply is there. Long tail viewing is also completely fragmented.
So my question to you, Chaitanya, is, that's a very nice nuanced point here. I'm trying to understand, do you like to target content or do you like to target audiences? Because as if you have a clear audience in mind, do you first go for an audience or do you go for the content piece?
Please think about it from my side. The audience profile and demographic is provided by every single platform. Google, Facebook, YouTube, everybody provides it. The richness that I get from an OTT platform is content-based behavior. Can I understand somebody's viewing preference and tailor make my messaging or my narrative to reach those people, irrespective of their age demographic? It might be 4 different people in 4 different age demographic, but if their interests are the same, and they're very interested in, say, home decor shows, they're very interested in home improvement, they love keeping a beautiful home. And there, for me, suddenly the age does not matter. I will be able to reach them and find value. That's the reason I was saying targeting richness perspective, OTTs can give me a different dimension that others may not be able to provide.
And Chaitanya, do you use different creatives when you're out there targeting different audiences, even on the same platform? Say, for example, you're doing a sports show or a sports live event versus the news versus
Yes.
A fiction show. Do you use different creatives?
Yes, we do. We do. What we do is when we do the shoot, we try and use different call to action and different tonalities. For example, one was where it was like a news anchor talking about Sansani Khez cover and everything is exciting for him. So that was one that will be very nicely suited for any news kind of a channel. People are already expecting that kind of excitement. Then you have much more messaging around home improvement. That can be something else. Somebody who's very deal seeker, there's a different messaging. Same core asset, but how you show it will probably be different based on different methodologies. So that is the target.
Perfect. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So go ahead.
No, so the other 2 parts I'll quickly touch upon. The second one was measurability. Here I meant not just what happens to the sale or whatever. I want to talk about what happens to that user. Am I able to trace? And that's linked to the other attribution parameter also. So can I trace this person? And then what happens after that? Is he recalling me better? Is he coming down the funnel? Is he recalling me better, but he's taking 3 months to convert? No problem. But at least can I have that visibility? That's the reason I said targeting, attribution, and measurability. If we get more technology involved in this, we would be much more comfortable with OTT.
Okay, I hope the OTT guys are listening to you. Ramalingam, are you? How has been your experience on what's working, what's not working? Are you able to measure enough? Are there enough deliverables? Are you getting a large enough audience for your product out there? It's a tough product to make people understand, but are you able to get the results that you're looking for, and what's working, what's not working?
Sure. So largely yes, but there are a lot of because the OTT space is still evolving. Every provider is at a different level of attribution that they can provide, and that is where it starts becoming a challenge. Some people are ahead, some people have innovative solutions. So if I want to look at it strategically and focus a lot more of my effort there, it is not fully ready yet in a lot of spaces. Okay, but largely with the goals in mind that we had, we were able to work it out. So if you ask me, we are happy, we are moving in the right direction, but a lot needs to be done. And having seen that, being part of this space, advertising with them for a while, I can see a lot of innovations coming in. And with that, I feel there is a lot of potential as well. So largely, it's good for us, and I can see a lot more happening. And good part is, this is what I have experienced, is that OTT players are also working very closely with advertisers, trying to solve their problems. But perhaps that's the way they would want to grow.
And this is obviously a place for somebody like Jayesh to come in and tell us, where does the challenge that Ramalingam is facing or Chaitanya is facing? How do you create a platform which allows them to get better measurability, better performance, better funnel management, better attribution, and be able to spend more.
Just before Jayesh,
Sorry.
I'll just finish my point. The point was currently a lot of efforts is also there on the brand's end to understand this much better. But once that the communication is on, I feel that we'll be able to create better stuff. But I largely feel it's going in the right direction.
Perfect. So I'm going to ask one. Sorry, Ahma, you want to say something? You want to add to this? Okay. So Jayesh, we lost you. Are you back?
Mr. Uday, I'm sorry I'm interrupting in between, as we are running short of time, so we would have to like close this discussion as soon as possible, maybe.
Okay, so we'll wrap up. You know, we've had a great discussion here. I think we'll wrap up on the positive note that Ramalingam left us on. He's obviously wanting to spend more money on OTT. He sees a fair amount of development happening on the technology platforms to enable more and more advertisers to spend more money. And Jayesh tells us this medium is growing very rapidly and probably one of the fastest growing mediums in the marketing mix. So thank you very much. This esteemed panel has been great to interact with. Thank you very much for SCREENXX to give us a chance to, go through it. Thank you, Adkali and team.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you, Uday.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great interacting with you. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your wonderful thoughts. And we have got so much to learn from your insight that you have shared. Thank you so much once again.